What's up, fellow YouTubers? Went and got some errands done. Shout out to Darth Linney for helping me out. He also gave me a pack of Winston Black 100s. Hell, fucking yeah. So we're gonna do a video response. Warning, this video contains alcohol and tobacco use, which is for use of adults 21 and older. You should not smoke and you should not drink. What kind of beer did he get? Is he going to mix it with Mountain Dew? Well, the answer to that is yes, I am going to mix it with Mountain Dew. But as to what kind of beer I got, well, you'll just have to wait and see. I noticed that Sydney Watson did another video on gender relations this time. And I'm like, ooh, this video sounds right up my alley. I'm watching it and I'm like, alright, now that we did a little cigarette trick with the fireball, just lights the cigarette. Like, look at that. Optical illusion. So this is Sydney Watson's I Blame Him, Not Men, what she learned from being sexually assaulted and abused. And honestly, whenever I hear about a woman who has survived rape or sexual assault, you know, it breaks my heart. I tend to think people who are rapists are cowards. They can't handle being told no, so they do the horrible things that they do. Now, this video was published on March 25th of 2020.
I ain't gonna lie. This is gonna be a weird video. Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to my channel. So I hope you're all enjoying your forced quarantine. I know I am. It's basically becoming the equivalent of Castaway. Except rather than Wilson and an island, I have my house. And annoying neighbors. So really, it's nothing like Castaway. Now, I asked everyone on Instagram if they wanted to see any more coronavirus content. And overwhelmingly, you guys said no.
Can't say I blame her audience, yo. Well, the audience in general. I mean, people are obviously sick and tired of hearing about the, what I like to call the quarantine virus, am I right? Fuck calling it the coronavirus, let's call it the quarantine virus. Or the cornholio virus, because people don't have TP for their bunghole. Oh yeah, I have a Corona Extra in my hands. Yeah. And there's several ways I could open this. I could use my bottle openers or I could use a lighter. If you're at a party and people are drinking, but then someone brings over a bunch of beer and you're all out of alcohol, so you're like, hey, more beer, sweet. But then no bottle opener, shit. So here's what you do. A little trick I learned. You take the lip of your cigarette lighter underneath right here and you stick it right there where the lid is, right there. You take your finger and you wrap the lighter underneath just like that. And you want to squeeze that lighter to the bottle as tight as you can so that your finger wraps around the bottom of it, leaving this part of your lighter exposed. And this takes a little bit of time to do. What you want to do is you want to really scooch your hand like right there on the lip of the lid right there. And yeah, there you go. Now using the back of your hand and your knuckle as leverage, you can open it up without a bottle opener. There's the secret to that. Yeah.
But a large portion of folks did tell me that they like hearing stories and anecdotes about my life, so I guess here we are. And what we're about to discuss in this video is actually something that I've wanted to say for a little while, but just never really found the right time. But I guess being stuck alone in my house while the apocalypse is happening outside has finally given me the opportunity. So, let's talk about gender relations and how not to be bitter and psycho. Hell yeah. Right?
Oh, you're right there. That's where I was like, yeah, we're going to talk about gender relations. Fuck yeah. I don't know why I find gender relations fascinating. I just do. And I tend to think, well, if I'm not getting laid, then maybe I can help make relationships easier for everyone else. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think Mountain Dew and Corona beer are going to taste good mixed together? Well, normally people put lime in their Corona, and Mountain Dew has lime flavoring in it, so chances are, yeah, it's probably going to taste delicious. I want to scooch this right over here. Actually, I want to put that over here and out of the way for a second. Ah, here's the good stuff. Mountain Dew. One of America's favorite soda pops. I'm going to crack open this 2-liter. As far as a forced quarantine goes, we haven't had one of those yet, which is good. Although that could change on Monday, we'll see. Took the time to repair one of the wands in my collection. Yeah, that's looking nice. Speaking of wands, I'll be getting a new batch out shortly. Just kind of checking to see, what the status of things are. So into my glass, we got half Corona Extra and half Mountain Dew. Oh, no, that's mixed just right. Right there at the lip. Hold up, let me take a sip. Dude. Oh. That is fucking tasty, eh? Oh. Now, it's a well-known fact that when you mix sugary caffeinated beverages with your alcohol, it makes it stronger. That's why I do it. I get a nice mixture of sugar, caffeine, and of course alcohol. Oh. Yeah, buddy.
opportunity. So, let's talk about gender relations and how not to be bitter and psycho. Hell yeah. Radical feminism is unquestionably responsible for a lot of anti-male sentiments. But for every fembot who has said that all men are rapists and pigs, there are men on the other side who think that all women are resource-stealing baby factories.
Oh, take a drink. You want to make this video more fun? Every time Sydney Watson tells it like it is, we're going to take a drink of our Corona beer mixture. Yes, radical feminism tends to make the feminist movement look bad in general. Radical feminism, also known as feminazis. Every time you hear this article bitching about the feminist movement, they're actually bitching about radical feminists, not feminists in general. And exactly what Sydney Watson said, for every radical, crazy, feminazi, radical feminist that hates men, there's also a man out there who hates women, and it's just sad. YouTube. Excuse me. Smoker's cough. For every radical, crazy feminazi, there's at least one male pig that treats women like crap. And when you have it coming from both sides of the spectrum, here's the first problem when we examine gender relations. Both sides are guilty of contributing to it. And there are a number of different ways that men and women contribute to making dating just miserable, making a lot of people take time to be single and go, hey, you know what?
I would know. I've watched anti-Sydney videos, and they genuinely terrify me. When I say Sydney, I mean me, not the city. Although that Sydney also is terrifying.
Here's the thing of it, YouTube. Yeah, being a Sydney Watson is a YouTube celebrity, she gets a lot of haters. The first Sydney Watson video I watched was her Gillette Venus rant that she made. And if you are unfamiliar with that rant, Sydney Watson basically said that because Gillette used a plus-size model for their ad campaign, that's going to encourage obesity, and that is one argument. On the other argument to that is that, you know, maybe they're trying to make women who feel a little self-conscious about the way they look feel more body positive, I guess. I also made the point that if they'd used Sydney for that same ad, they would have said, oh, that girl's too skinny and she's not a fair representation of all body types. And my argument to that is neither is the plus size model, but if you say that, people say you're fat shaming. Which, I mean, when I first watched that video, it conflicted with me because it brought up so many fair points from both arguing points that I'm like, And then the funny thing of it is, I'm like, well, what else does this young lady have to offer on her YouTube channel? So I started watching a couple more videos, and honestly, I got hooked. I'm like, this chick tells it like it is. And half of the shit she says, if a man said it, he'd be called a sexist, woman-hating pig. That's the best part of it. So cheers to Sydney Watson, eh? And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to her channel. And if you like my video responses that I do, subscribe to my channel as well if you could. Be greatly appreciated. But yeah, a lot of these anti-Sydney Watson videos are pretty pathetic. You know, a woman who actually speaks up for male rights as well as female rights is pretty unheard of in our society. Because, let's face it, folks, we're being raised in a society that hates men. The shift is starting to, And it wouldn't do you any good to complain about it, because this is years of female oppression biting the male gender back. So even if men today are mostly a lot more respectful than men 20, 30, 40 years ago, that's not the way karma sees it or the way karma cares, you know.
But for the most part, when you sit back and start to observe what drives some of these narratives, you start to see a pattern.
That you do. When it comes to the bullshit of double standards and... yeah.
Back and start to observe what drives some of these narratives, you start to see a pattern.
That you do. When you start to examine the narratives of why dating sucks. Now, you know what I'm saying? You could just sit there and say, why does love suck? Why does dating suck? Why does gender relations have to be so complicated in these modern times? Why can't we all just learn to coexist? You know, you start asking all these questions, so you examine the narratives. You know, and then some of these narratives, like, can men be taught not to rape? And as a man who respects women, I find that question kind of offensive. So to be equally as offensive, I'm going to say, I don't know, can women be taught to close their legs? You know, this negative stereotype that all men are rapist pigs. I fucking hate it, you know? That's partly why I'm single, is because a lot of women, I feel like, are starting to trust men less and less, which makes men trust women less and less, and the cycle never really seems to end, does it? The next narrative. Yes, you do need to teach your son not to rape. Here's how. I like how they included your son in the mix. You know, like, that's so stupid. Again, playing off that negative gender-based bullshit that all men are just, you know. Well, you know, I would say, yes, you do need to be taught not to do that to people. Here's how. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Simple as that, man. You know, if it happened to someone you cared about, or if it happened to you, you wouldn't like it. So why do it to someone else? The next narrative, the difference between toxic masculinity and being a man. Well, I'll give you an example of toxic masculinity. Someone might see me mixing my Corona beer with a Mountain Dew, and they're going, that drink's for pussies. Real men drink their beer straight. Why are you mixing it, you pussy? That's toxic masculinity. Hey man, I'm not judging you for what you drink, so yeah, there's that. And that's the kind of behavior that I see men do. They always gotta be out machoing each other. It's stupid. This pissing contest, you know. It's basically the male equivalent of slut shaming. Women do it to themselves all the time. They bicker at each other and, you know, talk a bunch of shit about each other, and yeah, men do that crap to each other too. It's always this pissing contest with people, isn't it? Another form of toxic masculinity would be, and this really breaks off into two separate categories. You have women who think that being masculine or showing traits that are genuinely characteristics of male traits is considered sexist or an attack on women. I'm not shitting you. There are women out there who think it's sexist to be manly or to show traits that are masculine. But then on the flip side to that, you have men who think they're superior to women because they're male. And that's also a form of toxic masculinity. So it really just depends on the situation. And the last narrative, why are women so evil? I could not roll my eyes any harder if I tried. Women are not evil. There are just some real mean assholes out there. Now, if you're a man who's had nothing but shitty experiences with women, of course you're going to think that. But then again, women who think men are evil assholes, it's because they too have had shitty experiences with the opposite sex. You have four collectives. You have the assholes on either side of the genders. Asshole women, asshole men. And in the middle of that clusterfuck of bullshit, you have decent people who are actually nice and perfectly suitable for dating. But the people in the middle end up with people on the asshole side, and it turns those good people into assholes real quickly. I've seen it happen too many times. I've seen a lot of good people turn into assholes because of the experiences they've had with the dating scene. And it's sad.
On the surface, a lot of these ideas appear to be grounded in pain, or at least in the repeated personal negative experiences with the opposite gender, or even growing up in a society that reinforces ideas that lead us to resenting one another. It's almost like pitting your kids against each other when it comes to sports.
Exactly. The narrative of these patterns, you start to see, not only does it happen, that the two biggest narratives are the people who participate in it, the people who make dating miserable, the people who make life miserable because they themselves are miserable people. You know what I'm saying? These assholes deep down inside are some of the saddest, most miserable people on the planet, and they have to drag everyone down to their level for them to feel good. That's how it works with these assholes. That's how it works. And another drink. A lot of the narratives, exactly, they happen when society has these enforced gender-based standards, double standards, sexism, the way people treat each other, and the shitty dating experiences that people have. I went to Walmart earlier wearing my tactical soap as usual. If you'd like to buy some tactical soap to smell sexy for your lady friend, there will be a link in the description box below. Coupon code King Cobra will get you 10% off your order. I affiliate with tactical soap because it works. Some women have argued and said this soap should be illegal. I disagree. Women have been the masters of seduction for centuries. Which brings me to my next point. Excuse me. The female form is worshipped in our society. The female form has been overly sexualized in our society. And this could be why women feel uncomfortable when men check them out, but they can check us out and no one says shit. Because, unfortunately, the female form is worshipped in our society. The female form has been overly sexualized in our society. You see countless Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube accounts of women showing off their bods. We'll get into that in a second. But we're going to do this other video response first. Which, oddly enough, we go back to the whole gender relations bit. That's one thing I've never agreed with. Like, women can check out men all day, every day, and make the most obnoxious comments about our bodies. But when men do it, we're pigs. A lot of this gender-based bullshit is based in hypocrisy and irony. And the irony is not lost when you realize that women and men are very similar to each other in a lot of ways. Oh, bartender, we might be out here in a second. That being said, fellas, you be nice to the ladies are going to be nice to you. Huh?
Or music or something. Or drawing between them constant unhelpful comparisons that cause them to grow up all twisted and angry. Your kid doesn't want to be David Beckham like his brother. He just wants to play soccer badly. Okay, Karen? And this divide even goes beyond the stereotypical criticisms that we have of one another. That all men are violent or all women are psychotic. Or
Another contributing factor to the narrative are gender-based stereotypes. You know those negative stereotypes that women and men have been placed upon? Like, for example, all men are rapists, violent, sexist, chauvinistic pigs, and all women are psychotic cunts who just want your money and your dick. Yeah, those kinds of stereotypes. Aren't they a bitch? So I'm going to tilt the glass so it doesn't foam up, and we could sit here and... there's a little bit of that. Now, by mixing it with Mountain Dew, I can now have 3 drinks instead of freaking just one. So that you can stretch out your beer, too, on top of it. Which, yeah. Drinking a Corona Extra beer with Mountain Dew. Okay, this company, this beer is not, okay, it's not going to give you the virus. If you think this beer company is going to give you the virus, you're fucking stupid. You're about as dumb as the idiots who are buying up all the fucking toilet paper, which is just inconsiderate as fuck, to be quite honest. The poor asshole next to you is not going to be able to wipe their bunghole because you're worried about the, it's not the coronavirus, it's the cornholio quarantine virus. Because people are stuck quarantined in their house and they can't wipe their butts. They can't wipe their Asperger's. On a real note, though, that's actually a really tasty combination.
Or the 1,000 other mean things that we say about each other all the time.
No fucking shit, and that calls for another drink. It's not only do we have these double standards, these gender-based standards, gender washing certain things. You know, like, you know, if you say blue is a boy's color, you're gender washing that color. That's just an example. But yeah, on top of all that, then we have the thousands of other mean things that people say to each other on a daily basis. Exactly. Thank you. Believe me, I'm no stranger to that. I've had people call me an autistic retard ever since I started making YouTube videos. And it's like, oh, I am so playing my trolls like a guitar. It's funny. Stop for 1 second and ask yourself, does this make any sense? If you dislike a YouTuber, but then you spend every waking hour of the day obsessively talking about them on a website, waiting for them to upload a video just so you can dislike it. You don't even care what the video's about. You're just like, no, I hate Cobra, dislike, And then you want to talk about sad. Honestly, my YouTube trolls are some of the saddest, most miserablest people I've ever had the misfortune of meeting. And I truly feel sorry for my internet haters, for the people who hate on me. I feel sorry for them. And, I hope that their life gets better to a point where they realize, hey, you know what? The fuck am I doing? My whole life is flashing before me and I'm wasting it trolling this autistic who's laughing at me. The fuck have I been doing with my life for the last 10 years? Like, this guy's life can't be this interesting, can it? To where he just sits there. Well, I mean, it is kind of badass. I play guitar and I make wands, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. But yes, exactly. You could be watching a video with pickup trucks on YouTube. Couple of Dodges, couple of Chevys, couple of Fords, couple of GMCs, just a nice, healthy variety of trucks. Good, clean, there's no cussing in the video, just some guy or some chick walking around filming all the trucks at some kind of car show, what have you. Someone in the comment section says, well, they like Chevys, and some other asshole comments, Chevys are for pussies, real men drive Fords, and then someone else chimes in how they think that brand sucks and their brand is better, and which honestly, I'm not talking shit, but have you noticed that all these new pickup trucks that are coming out, they all look the same? If you had a 52 Ford pickup or a 52 Chevy pickup, you could tell the difference. But these days, all these damn trucks look the same. When future civilizations go to document humans from the year 2000 to the year 3000, they're going to be like, so what has happened in the span of this much time? And they get a log of all the crap that people have said on the internet, all the bullshit and negativity. There might be like libraries where they catalog all the mean comments that people say and put it in like a giant book for people to read or some shit. Or log it onto a giant database computer where they're just like, people were jerks back in the day.
Beyond those criticisms, it's not uncommon to hear about men who have stopped interacting with and trusting women because their experiences with them have been profoundly negative.
Yeah, it's called men going monk. There are men out there who still find women attractive, but for the time being, they have ceased to pursue relationships or sex until they feel like they found a really good woman to be with. Like, some of these men have sworn off sex and they refuse to speak to them. I mean, it's... yikes. Now, I still talk to women, believe it or not. I do. I haven't completely sworn off dating, but it's not my main concern. My main concern is going to be keeping my apartment stocked with groceries, keeping my wand business going, Because you have to realize there are more important things to life than dating.
And vice versa, except, with women dating men. And this doesn't just happen exclusively in relationships. The resentment can grow from basically any interaction between the sexes. And some of those interactions are more nefarious than others, but ultimately, they result in the same twisted disdain that we see play out from both sides. A couple years ago, for example, a male friend of mine was Me Too'd. He told me recently that has had such an impact on him that he's now too uncomfortable and cynical to even be in any romantic situation with a woman. On the other side, I have female friends who've been sexually assaulted, or who've had repeated negative sexual experiences with men, and now have this irreversible resentment and hatred towards them. And then
if you make a drinking game out of this video that Sydney Watson made, you might end up a little bit schnockered by the end of it. And what can you say to someone, honestly? Yeah, what do you say to a woman who's been sexually assaulted by men? What do you say to men who have had everything they've had taken from them except for the clothes on their back? Just because the bitch was bored and wanted someone different. So No, what do you say to a man when his bitch of an ex-wife uses their kid as leverage in the relationship to get what they want? That's extremely toxic and unhealthy, and that's no way to raise your kid. I mean, for real. That's a lot of that's a lot of mixed messages. Nice smoker's cough. Have another one, he said sarcastically. No, but and especially if your kid is at an impressionable age where their ideas of the world are being fed to them through what their parents do. And certainly that's what contributes to the dating scene, is when kids grow up watching their parents fight or watching their parents use the kid as leverage. They think, oh, this is how relationships are supposed to be. So then when they get to that age where they start dating, it just sends mixed messages. So, there's that layer to it, too. That's just the way I see it. You know what I'm saying, YouTube? But we're not going to go down that road. That's for a different video.
there are just horrible people who act horrible because they are horrible. Like serial killers, or people who abuse animals, or Hillary Clinton, and Bill Clinton, and Harvey Weinstein. Thank you, Sydney. We get the picture. Now, all of that being said, it is possible to be damaged and scarred and still manage to not completely despise the opposite gender.
Yeah, that it is. That it is. When you ask the question, is it possible to be treated like shit, treated like absolute dog shit by the opposite gender, but you still aren't bitter towards them? It's possible, but it's difficult. You know, it really depends on the person and their experiences. Which, my experience personally, women found me attractive, and they still do, but I get rejected by every chick I like. So it's a weird paradox.
And I know this on a personal level, which is what we're going to talk about today. So we're about to have a pity party. I love parties, especially now that I know you can distill men's tears into alcohol. In the last little while, I participated in a video for a YouTube channel called Jubilee.
Yes. Yes. I do remember the Jubilee video. She talked about it on her channel. I clicked on it. I watched it. It was the Me Too movement examined on the Jubilee YouTube channel. And now a couple of things happened after I watched that video. One, I gained a bigger understanding of the Me Too movement. And two, I gained a lot more respect for Sydney Watson. You know, as a guy, whenever you hear about the stories of women getting raped or sexually assaulted, it just makes you disgusted that you're a male. It does. But to that point, I would add, if you respect women and all that, then there's nothing you can do. You know? You can't control what the assholes do or say or how the assholes treat women. All you can do is control how you treat women. So because this is the problem with it. When you have a society that whenever rape in general happens and they don't really focus on when it happens to a male, but if it happens to a female, they focus on it. And it just, it just, it doesn't do any good, YouTube. That's tasty beer. I can get down with that. No, quite honestly, YouTube, I'm disgusted by the fact that rape even exists. You know? If someone came up to me and said, we can make rape and sexual assaults and sexual abuse stop for all time, but you have to give up your sex life and masturbating and companionship for the rest of your life, would you do it? That's something to think about, isn't it? I totally do it in a heartbeat. If someone said, we can make sexual assault and rape and all that go away for the rest of time, but you have to give up your sex life, masturbating, companionship, all of that. It'd be a noble sacrifice, but I would totally do it. Would you? Keep in mind, you'd be super lonely the rest of your life. You'd have friends, but you'd never really be able to. Yeah. Sadly, that's not how the world works. honestly, the first time I watched the Jubilee video, it got to this part right here that Sydney Watson is talking about on her video, and I was disgusted and shocked. Like, you know, again, it's like, what can you say to a rape survivor? You know, what can you say? You know, it just makes me uncomfortable. You know, like, when we start examining the narratives too and what contributes to the rape culture, treating sex like it's a need. Having these negative stereotypes that say, you know, you ain't a real man unless you're slaying lots of puss, you know, kind of shit. There's way too much pressure on men to have sex, or as much of it as they can. Then women are told that you shouldn't have it because that makes you a whore. And I'm like, that's kind of conflicting as fuck, if you ask me.
The video was about the Me Too movement, and towards the end of it, much to my absolute horror, I got a little choked up discussing something that happened a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because I'm over here, like, I don't think things are on the same level, but things impact you in, like, bizarre ways. But yeah, like, because the perpetrator wasn't white, and because he was, like, you know, part of, like, a certain religion, and the police were basically just like, we can't because of cultural differences, which I don't feel like is such a great reason for, like, throwing something out.
In my defense, I was super jet lagged. I had literally just flown in from Australia the day before. I was super tired, clearly had poor emotional control. If I was gonna have a pity party, there'd be more cake. Sydney, you can't just lure me into your videos with the promise of cake and then tell me that there's no cake. How am I supposed to be body positive if I'm not eating? Funnily enough, I'd actually discussed that specific event a couple years ago on Australian national TV, and I didn't cry once. And honestly, it's such a bizarre story that I'm even a little bit embarrassed to repeat it again, but basically, in essence, I was sexually assaulted or indecently assaulted on a flight a number of years ago. Which sounds completely ridiculous to absolutely everyone, but is actually much more common than you think. With other women around the world.
Honestly, Sydney, nobody would blame you if you got emotional over being sexually assaulted. You know? This idea that humans are not allowed to show emotions because it makes them look weak. I mean, if women show any emotion, people just think, oh, that woman's being psychotic and overly emotional, probably on her period or some shit, you know? But if men show any emotion, we get called pussies and we get told, toughen up, you crybaby, quit showing emotion. And the sad truth of it is, yeah, it is a lot more common than you realize. 4 women tell CNN about sexual harassment on flights. And they may think to themselves, what are they going to do? They can't kick you off the plane, you know, because it's in the middle of the sky. Like, what are they going to do? You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. So, you know, that kind of thing happens a lot more than you realize, and it's sad. Like, I get it. Bruh, you're trying to get laid. Okay, I get it. But there's a way you go about doing it. And then sexually harassing women or making them feel uncomfortable is definitely not the way to do it. No, dude, if you're trying to get laid, you gotta be smooth with that shit. You can't just be like, hey, baby, yeah.
reporting similar stories. The problem with my case specifically was that, despite going to police in Australia, they essentially told me that the man would be let off because of cultural differences. Because some cultures around the world think it's okay to disrespect and hurt women, and apparently Australia's fine with that.
And that's what creates more problems. You know, that's what contributes to our rape culture. There are some cultures around the world that have no problems hurting or abusing women. Muslims, excuse me, had a smoker's cough. Now, how are Muslims going to sit there and say they're a religion of progressive peace, but they treat women like shit? Someone explain that to me. Go ahead, I'll wait. I'm not attacking anybody, I'm just making a fair point.
Initially, I felt cheated, and then I felt angry, and then I wasn't just angry at men, but I was angry at everyone. Events like that have a profound impact on how you feel about the world and everyone in it. And to be clear, I am not saying for a second that my experience was the most horrific one out there. In fact, I know there are people out there, men and women, who've been through much, much worse. While I'm definitely not into the idea of creating a hierarchy of who has suffered more, it's pretty clear that traumatic events affect everyone differently. But
exactly. She acknowledges that, hey, what she went through sucked, but she also acknowledges that she's aware of the fact that what she gone through could have been a lot worse. There are people out there who have gone through a lot worse, and traumatic events do affect people differently. That is so true.
But for me personally, I went through a very bizarre and unfortunate situation on a plane, landed in a foreign country, and then found that my second flight was grounded for 24 hours, which was pretty traumatic on top of everything that had already happened, because it was really the first time that I was traveling on my own. And when I eventually got where I was going, which was France, I ended up getting very sick, losing about 10 kilos, tapping out, and flying home. It wasn't the best time of my life, I'll be honest. Frankly, that was about enough adventuring for me, but in true Sydney style, I went and made things worse. Because about a month later, feeling pretty sad and sorry for myself and just wanting someone to lean on, I went and poured myself into a majorly abusive relationship that went on for almost 2 years. You know when you look back on really terrible relationships and you now wishes that you could talk to you then and just be like, this is one of those. But you know, hindsight is 20/20. Do you get it? It's 2020. No, Sydney, we get it. It's just not funny. That relationship was miserable. And over the years, I've really considered my role and my culpability in it all. I feel like a lot of people can relate to the doubt that starts to seep in after you've had years to consider the part that you played in events that negatively impacted you. To this day, there are things that happen that I still can't get past. Things I can't talk about and will probably never talk about because I'm ashamed and embarrassed. I spent almost 2 years in a situation that was controlling and physically and emotionally abusive. And when we eventually broke up, he harassed me so much that I decided to move to the UK. Because when in doubt, move away. To England, where people think exercising is going on a run to the pub. And
Aye. Salacha, cheers. Now, could you imagine YouTube being sexually assaulted and then you get into a relationship only to find out the relationship is toxic and abusive? Talk about a double whammy, dude. And you know what, fellas? Have some fucking dignity. You know, if you and your girlfriend broke up, then, you know, forget about her. Find someone different. stalking her and shit. It's just super creepy, dude. Don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, that's when you're realizing, oh, hey, you probably lost one of the best things that ever happened to you. Should have been a bit more, nicer. Which, honestly, after hearing about what Sydney Watson has gone through personally speaking on my behalf, it makes me appreciate being single. People seem to think that getting laid is so important, but I'm like, yeah, but let's pour some more Mountain Dew in there, because why not? Like, this is why, when it comes to the gender-based bullshit in our society, you can and cannot blame the genders. You cannot blame them for having resentment towards the opposite gender, but you can blame them for their shitty decisions, their actions, what they've done. We've all done things we're not proud of, so all we can do is learn from our mistakes and move on. But the shit kicker of it, trust is a lot easier to destroy than it is to build. Now, despite going through an abusive relationship and despite being sexually assaulted, Sydney Watson doesn't hold it against men. She doesn't think we're all just horrible people, which is nice to see. I mean, nobody would blame women for hating men if they've been sexually assaulted, but at the same time, being able to realize that we're not all horrible, chauvinistic pigs. And here's something to think about, ladies, and I'm being real with you. Hear me out for a second. If all men are chauvinistic pigs, then I guess all women are sluts. I mean, women hate being called that, having that assumption thrown at them. Well, how do you think men feel about being called a rapist and a pig all the time? That's just how I'm saying it.
And you get to see all this Roman history that you just won't appreciate at the time. Because you're dumb. Oh, Sydney, that looks like a fun thing to sit on. How did you not know that this is an insanely impressive historical landmark? At the time, moving was absolutely the right thing to do. I needed to get out of my environment because I could feel myself sinking into that depression sludge, where I was driving to work in the morning thinking, haha, I should just drive into the oncoming traffic. Which just quietly you shouldn't do. In fact, if you feel that way, I recommend seeking help or going to England and sitting on Hadrian's Wall. It's not a permanent fix, but at least you get to hang out with some sheep and hairy coos. So I spent a little while plodding around the UK, and as the hippies say, I did some soul searching. It did not look like this.
And the intrusions from above continue. That's true.
It looked more like this. So when I eventually went back to Australia, I really felt a lot better about things. And I managed to patch myself up enough to be a functional person. I enrolled in my master's program shortly after that, which led me here, complaining to all of you about some sad times in my life. I mean, it's kind of weird to think that me being traumatized on an airplane means I now get to talk about politics on the internet. What is that? It was a little while later that I came to find out that my ex-boyfriend had abused the girlfriend he had after me, and the girlfriend he had after that, and I estimate and dare say every girlfriend since. Frankly, I don't think people like that change. And I don't think that they're redeemable. I've gone through 20-something years of life, logging lots of negative experiences with the opposite sex, some of which were definitely my fault, and others weren't. I've also had excellent positive experiences, and I'm really lucky that a lot of those men are still in my life today, and ultimately they'll go on to marry women who I hope will realize the value of what they have. Being sexually assaulted and then immediately following it up with an abusive relationship has been impactful in the way I deal with people now. But life has also been characterized by other minor events that poked holes in my self-esteem, my trust, and overall understanding of how men and women should and shouldn't interact. But the thing is, my experiences are not even uncommon. We've all been there, and for better or worse, we make our way through it. Abuse and sexual assault puts a big hole in your trust. It casts doubt on all your relationships, your interactions, and even the opposite gender, and it leaves you feeling pretty angry, pretty resentful, and for some people, they self-destruct. It makes you ashamed, and it makes you embarrassed, and a lot of people carry that around with them. It spawns this irreversible victimhood mentality that means a lot of people feel that the opposite sex is their universal enemy. And the radical factions on both sides of this issue feed that. But it is possible to get past feeling that way. And I like to think I'm proof of that. Gold star for Sydney. Because here I am all these years later, and I realize that not all men will act this way. In fact, the vast majority of men find this behavior completely indefensible and disgusting. And
I'm one of those men. I see the way women treat men, the way men treat women, and I'm just like, no. No. And honestly, after not having a girlfriend for almost 3 years, it's lonely, it sucks, but when I hear about all the traumatizing bullshit that people have had to go through because of their experiences, honestly, it makes me appreciate being single. You know, on some videos leading up to Valentine's Day recently, I talked about these experiences, and I said to people, I says, there were worse things out there than being single. Way worse. And there are certainly better options out there. If you're single, quit moping about it. So's a lot of us these days. So quit bitching about it and make the best of it, you know? You know, this is the thing of it, and this is what I've learned from personal experience. Being miserable because you're not dating anyone, or being miserable because you don't have a girlfriend. You're constantly reminding yourself of why you're sad, why you're depressed, why you're angry. And that's just fuel for that fire. And trust me, the more you dwell on it, the more depressed you're going to get about it. So it's better just to focus on other things, you know. And honestly, YouTube, there are things that, fuck the sex, honestly. When you wake up cuddled up next to your girl in the morning, it's a great way to start the day. You wake up and the first thing you see is your woman next to you. You know? It's a great way to start the day. You wake up like, hey, yeah. But honestly, I'm not in a hurry to find a relationship. You know, because I tend to think that women will respect you more when you're not a sleazeball player.
Majority of men in my life are good people, great people, sometimes handsome people. The same goes for women. The majority of women think that other women who abuse their husbands or cheat the justice system, use their children as leverage, are abusive or act like psychos, are also completely irredeemable. These rational, normal voices get drowned out by the absolute crazies on either side. And it's why we end up thinking that every person is as bad as our ex, or is as terrible as the person who assaulted our friend. And honestly, getting to this mindset of knowing that the opposite sex isn't the enemy can be difficult, because it's easier to get it twisted than to realize that one person's actions, or a few people's actions, shouldn't control and determine how you feel about everyone.
Yep.
Radical feminism and misogyny are built on the idea that the opposite sex is inherently bad.
Exactly. Radical feminism and misogyny from men radical feminism from females and misogyny from men are both based on this outdated concept that people have now revamped. And honestly, it's like, no. 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 It's like, no. No. I don't like it. Well, this Sydney Watson video is just about over. So, again, don't stress dating or being sexless, you know. Excuse me, it's not worth it, man. It really isn't.
Many people arrive at this conclusion after exposure, whatever that looks like, to trauma at the hands of the opposite sex. And you know, maybe nothing can ever erase how sad you feel about your wife walking out on you. And maybe nothing can ever erase your anger at every boyfriend you've ever had cheating on you. But that doesn't make everyone bad. And it doesn't mean you've got to go through life feeling like that. I'm no expert, but I do know how it feels to want to be angry and to find a way not to be. Somehow, I hope that people will realize that you can actually take situations case by case, and that the opposite sex isn't your enemy. And maybe when that time comes, we might actually stand a much better chance of everyone getting along. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sydney Watson. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'm just kidding. I could never do one of those. I don't know how to talk like a robot. But I am opening the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Is there a way to fix the relations between the sexes? Is getting over the inbuilt hostility that a lot of us have the way to doing that? And what do you generally make of this topic overall? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe and the thumbs up button. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so. Just be respectful about it. And I will see you guys next time.
Alrighty. Well then. Can we fix the relations with the genders? Well, yes and no.
Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly Wolf. Today, we are going to do kind of like a haul video, but things that I'm thinking, bikinis particularly, that...
Ah, yes. Holly Wolf is a babe, and she knows it. Yeah, Sydney Watson's pretty cute too, I'm not gonna lie. But here's where... Like, one of my Facebook friends was like, "Bro, have you seen the new Holly Wolf video? published on March 27th? I'm like, no, I have not. I'll check it out. And I ain't gonna lie, it is pretty sexy.
I am thinking of tossing, either donating, giving to my other model friends, or just throwing out in general. But
alright, so the context of this video, Holly Wolf is doing a bikini try-on, and these are some of the bikinis that she hasn't seen. She's thinking about keeping them or tossing them or giving them away, that kind of thing. Yippers. I mean, throughout the video, you see her doing on all these different bikinis. Like, we skip forward to like 14 minutes and 31 seconds, and she's got this sexy one piece on, looking all sassy, like, ooh, you know. I mean, like, every swimsuit she tries on in this video, she looks good in. It's just, you know. But, the swimsuit she reveals after the one piece. Let's listen to what she has to say.
I've never tried this bikini on, and I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Damn it.
Ooh, I think it's so pretty. Shit. Okay. I'm gonna have to definitely wear this at least once. This is a really nice, like, classy black bikini. You guys know me. I love my high-waisted. The only problem is, like, when you turn, I have this little chunky section of my back. So if any of you guys have any exercises on how to kind of, like, neutralize that, I guess it's not really there if I'm straight. Obviously, it is. Well, yeah, I don't even know. I'm just trying to be thin in the right areas and thick in the right areas, and yo, listen, it's hard life I live.
Okay. You heard her, right? She's like, oh, that thing. Okay, watch. When I turn this way, I can feel my back fat right there. When I turn this way, I can feel my back fat on the other side right here. There are no exercises to get rid of that. Honestly, Holly Wolf, you look good, honey. You're overthinking it, okay? Everyone has... excuse me. Everyone has a little bit of back fat. Nothing wrong with that. And quite honestly, Holly Wolf, honey, do you know how many morbidly obese women would love to have your figure? And that just goes to show you that women, like I said, the female form is worshipped in our society. And because of that, there's a lot of pressure on women to always look their best. So even when they look sexy, they'll still find a way to pick themselves apart. And it's like...
Anyways, this bikini is beautiful. Geez, I can't believe I've never tried this on. This is what happens when I have so many bikinis that things just kind of get left or thrown to the side. I'm going to try to link the company that sent me this, because the next one is also this company, and I think this is beautiful. I think this is so classic and stunning, and now I think I'm going to keep this one, like, forever, because this is a nice bikini. Like, this is a classy but sexy, like, I've made it sexy with the under boob, but obviously this one, like, forever, because this is a nice bikini. Like, this is a classy but sexy, like, I've made it sexy with the under boob, but obviously, oh, you can kind of put it here, but, you know, I'm an under boob whore, and I didn't untighten the top, so that's literally why it's like that. But yeah, oh, this is gorgeous. Hell yeah. Okay, next. And final. Bikini. Oh my gosh. Heck. Yes. Oh my gosh. So it's like the same bikini, but it's in white. Oh my goodness. This is nice, guys. Crap. Definitely. These two, obviously, I'm keeping. They're so beautiful. They're so classy. Shit. I can't believe I didn't try them before. See, you gotta try on everything. That's these videos. I know that you guys love them, but they are so helpful to me because they help me try things on and see what they'd be good for. And this is beautiful. It makes my figure look so good because it cuts right where I like it to cut, which is here, right here. It's not too tight. Like the velvet one I tried on, like I said, it's a little tight. So if I'm not super lean, it makes me look a little too thick. Oh, wow. Wow. This is so nice. Ooh. Oh. I love it so much. Oh, girl. I love the skimpy stuff, but I'm very like a high fashion editorial girl. Stuff like this, it's a little bit more covered, but then you have those sexy elements, you know? Like, not everything has to be super tiny, I know.
Hell yeah, girl, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I mean, I like the super tiny bikinis that you do, but I also like this too, you know, like the classy bikinis, the one pieces, you know. Hey. Yeah, buddy.
I know some of you might disagree. That's why I do my videos with CJ, because she literally has the craziest, most tiniest outfits.
I don't completely disagree. I get that. You know, that shows you're a classier gal, you know. I mean, there's nothing, if you like the tiny bikinis, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. Hey, you know, just, doesn't mean you're not classy. It just, you know. I didn't word that right. Yeah. I don't know, like, and you know what? If you can't appreciate a woman in a bikini and it has to be super tiny, then, I don't know, dude, you're kind of a pig. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Holly Wolf doesn't have to be in some skimpy-ass, tiny-as-fuck bikini for me to appreciate a bikini model. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, damn. Even that classy bikini she got on looked good on her. Then again, she looks good in pretty much any swimsuit she tries on. It's just, you know.
And I'm over here like, I need a yard of fabric for my bikini. But I think this is beautiful. Yay! Okay, guys. I'm literally tossing one bikini out of everything that I tried on today. That was not the goal of this video, but it is totally fine. I am going to try my best and shoot all of these over the summer as soon as it starts to warm up, as soon as I'm allowed to leave my house again. And we'll see how that goes. Some of them in the garden, some of them in other locations. We shall see. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And like I said, please give it a like and subscribe if you have not, so that I can reach my next goal of 300,000 subscribers. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you are safe during these times. Please wash your hands as much as possible. Practice social distancing as much as you possibly can. We want this to go away. All right, we want to leave our houses again. I would like to leave my house. Maybe I'll just stay here forever. It's fine, right? We'll make YouTube videos. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you are well, and I hope you liked this video. I shall talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah. Now, what was the point of watching that video at the end of this video? Well, the point being is, you may think that you're not attractive, but guess what? Even attractive women feel self-conscious about the way they look. And that's just it. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. How long is this here video? Hour long? Alright, let's upload it to the desktop. I'll make another video response here in a bit. Anyways, YouTube, stay safe out there during all this bullshit. And if you like this kind of content, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching my video response, and I'll catch you later.